All right, guys, welcome to the X-Files Q&A. This was the next Q&A that I had posted on Patreon. If you guys want to be part of the future Q&As, just hit the link in the description box below, head on over to my Patreon, hit the first tier, that'll allow you access to do so. But yeah, I was really excited to do an X-Files Q&A. I want to thank everyone who sent in questions for this Q&A, because I didn't know if anyone was like how big this was going to be, and I did get some questions. I think the next one I'm going to do, like, because they've all been horror. Like, that's the thing, is that they've all been horror based, because we are in spooky season. So I'm sure you're going to see a lot more horror based Q&As throughout the rest of the month of October. So yeah. But anyway, without further ado, let's get started with our first set of questions, coming from David Deister, who asks, if the X-Files were to get rebooted, how would you like to see them handle the show? Or who would you like to see handle the show, excuse me? Well, we are getting a X-Files reboot. It's been officially confirmed that it will be there will be a X-Files reboot coming from Ryan Coogler, the director of Sinners, Black Panther, Creed. The dude is probably one of the coolest picks to have, and this has been apparently a dream project of his for the longest time. This is something he's wanted to do for a while, and I'm really excited. I think he is I think he's the right guy for the job. There were a few other people I would have thought. I know, like, I heard rumors that Shyamalan wanted to do an X-Files reboot, and I'd have been like, no, no, absolutely not. I would not tolerate a M. Night Shyamalan X-Files reboot. Coogler clearly has a love for the horror genre, and the way he talks about this reboot is really cool. Though, if I was to pick another person for showrunner, probably would have picked what was his name? He did the Hannibal series. Bryan Fuller. I would have picked Bryan Fuller. I know he had some. I remember, and maybe I'm remembering it wrong. Actually, is like I do recall he had some kind of hand in the 2016 miniseries, but I can't remember how much of a hand he did. But yeah, that'd be my pick, is Bryan Fuller. But Coogler, I am totally on board with whatever he has. Second, what would an X-Files My Hero Academia crossover look like? Pretty awful. Like, I am going to be straight with you, David. It would look pretty goddamn awful, if I'm being honest. Because what would be the point of the X-Files? Like, you live in like, the X-Files, like, Mulder and Scully would exist in a world where they would essentially be in a universe where they would have to be, like, in a universe where weird stuff happens all the time. So the only way I could see this really working, really the only way I could actually see an X-Files crossover working in this regard is probably have it that Mulder and Scully are part of the FBI and they work in the American part of the My Hero Academia universe, and basically they deal with, like, unexplained occurrences with quirks. Maybe have it that Scully and Mulder have quirks as well. Like, have it be that Mulder has, like, a kind of third sight that gives him, like, intuition on certain aspects. Like, it's a low-level quirk, and Scully can basically diagnose or analyze a person in a matter of seconds. Like, it's a couple of low-level quirks that they use to their advantage. I don't know. I feel like that's the best way to do it, but anyway. Third question. How do you rank each season of The X-Files? It's kind of simple, really, when you think about it. The best way to rank The X-Files seasons is good until Mulder died. Like, I know it's such an easy thing, but it is. When Mulder died and they got rid of Mulder, that was it. That was the end of the show for everyone. Or you could even say after the movie. like after the first movie. It's one of those two things. It used to, like, it's kind of funny how we do that now with The Walking Dead, where it's like, so when did you stop watching The Walking Dead? That used to be back in the 90s, 2000s. That was a question of, so when did you stop watching X-Files? That's how you gauged a person, really. Anyway, so that's yeah. It's easy to kind of like to rank them. It's just Mulder's gone. That for me, it was like when Mulder died. Then we could stop watching. Anyway, thank you for those questions, David. Moving on now to Tom Hibbert, who asks, what would you say was your favorite monster alien in the show? I'd probably say, like, for me, my favorite monster / alien in the show was probably I'd probably say, like, for me, what was it, the Chupacabra or the Jersey Devil? Yeah, the Jersey Devil one was really solid. I really like that. But I have another personal love for the Loch Ness Monster episode, where it turned out to be a big alligator, and then you see the monster, the real Loch Ness Monster, kind of slipping away in the dark. It is not a good episode, but that was my first episode as a kid watching X-Files. Like, that was my first episode, and it kind of stuck with me. But yeah, I'd say the Jersey Devil episode. Yeah, that would be probably my favorite monster one. Second question: what are your thoughts on the 2 X-Files movies? Okay, I know there's going to be a lot of contention with this one, because like the two, like, people always have like a kind of varying opinion on the 2 X-Files movies, if I'm being honest. For me, I would probably say that, like, the first movie, I Want to Believe, was it called I Want to Believe? It doesn't matter. The first X-Files movie, that one, you're either going to really like it or hate it. Personally, I feel like the movie kind of had all this build-up and then nothing. And I know there's a question on that later in the Q&A, so I'll delve more into that. But, like, the movie was supposed to, like, set up a lot of give us a lot of answers and things like that, and really expand the universe of the show, and we get Bupkis. Now, from what I've heard, rumors that, like, they chickened out at the last second because they were worried about viewers, but I can tell you one thing, like, that was the beginning of the end for X-Files. Like, the first movie was the beginning of the end. Now, the second movie is just an extended episode. That's what it really feels like, is that it just feels like an extended episode of the series, and I'm kind of indifferent. Honestly, I'm indifferent in the second movie. If you want, like, just kind of my general opinion on the whole matter, I'm quite indifferent with the second movie. The first movie has really cool ideas and some cool scenes, but it just pisses you off by the end. Third question. I was surprised that Stephen King actually wrote an episode of The X-Files. If another horror writer came writing something for The X-Files, either as a novel or a comic, who would you pick? Well, we are getting... He's not really a horror writer, but Jonathan Hickman will be doing X-Files comics for Marvel very soon, which I think that's going to be awesome. And there is another question pertaining to that, so I'm going to shut up on that. But anyway, for me, there's a few horror writers I would love to see tackle a episode or maybe some form of X-Files medium. Probably, I would probably say, like, I mean, like, we did get a Steve, like, I'd like to see James Wan do when we get Ryan Coogler, when we get Ryan Coogler's reboot of the show, I'd like to see James Wan tackle something with X-Files. I know he's more more bombastic kind of horror, and that's not what X-Files is. But I would dare say that, like, there are episodes in X-Files where, you do get, you do get a lot of cool stuff with, like, some kind of fun action episodes. And I think it'd also be cool to see, like, how James Wan would use his camera angles and cinematography in an X-Files episode. So James Wan would be one. Like, if I was to pick a writer, Maybe for the comics, like Donny Cates. He's not really known for horror, but he does do a lot of like 90s creepy stuff. So Donny Cates, if and when he comes back to writing comics, that'd be cool. I would even like to see David Desmelchin, who is an actor. Most of you guys will know, like Late Night the Devil and Suicide Squad. I would like to see him tackle I think he's a good horror writer, so I would love to see him do a comic. And James Tynion. James Tynion, writer of Batman, and also like he's also been helming the Universal Monster Comics. Really solid horror writer. So those are a few of my picks. Anyway, thank you for those questions, Tom. Moving on now to Cyborg 19.99, who asks, what if Mulder and Scully encountered the Xenomorphs? Well, we're not going to speculate on that any further because that's a crossover that's going to happen. If you guys don't remember, or any new subscribers on here, I did a video a few months ago talking about that it was revealed that Jonathan Hickman, and I did just talk about this, that Jonathan Hickman will be doing X-Files comics for Marvel. And on top of that, it's also been revealed that there will be an X-Files Aliens crossover. I'm not joking. That Hickman is writing an X-Files Aliens crossover for Marvel along with an X-Files ongoing. So now now it won't be speculative anymore. We are getting Mulder and Scully meeting the Xenomorphs. So it's probably going to be terrifying. It's probably also going to be it's going to be like some heavy sci-fi because it is Hickman. But yeah, we won't it won't be speculative much longer because yeah. What was I going to say? It won't be speculative much longer because that comic will be coming out. I don't know when, but it was revealed back in May. I'm waiting for like more information because that apparently got leaked. So now I imagine we're gonna have to wait until like some official stuff. Watch it like 60% of the time, like 50-60% of the time, this always happens. Where I talk about something and then sure enough, like shortly thereafter, we get news officially. Yeah. Anyway, thanks. Second question. Who is your favorite supporting character in X-Files? I always liked the Lone Gunmen. I thought they were pretty fun and how they played off of Mulder, if I'm being honest. I liked John Doggett. I'll go more into him because there is a question about him later on in the Q&A. But yeah, I would probably say like those are the ones that really stand out to me. Yeah, those are the ones that really like come up in my mind for supporting characters. Favorite villain in X-Files? It's the Smoking Man. Yeah, I know it's kind of a basic bitch answer, but if I'm being honest, the Smoking Man is kind of an awesome villain. He's intimidating. He's powerful. He just has this aura of I can just hurt you without even touching you. So when it comes to like villains like that, again, I know everyone's gonna say the Smoking Man, but it's him. Like it is just 100% the Smoking Man. No matter how you slice it, it is 100%. It is 100% the Smoking Man. So thank you for those questions, Cyborg. Moving on now to Nolan Unejo, who asks, my biggest gripe with the show is it seems to be all mystery and no payoff. Do you agree or not? Well, okay. This was the question I was talking about earlier where I was talking about like payoff and no payoff. I think X-Files at the start of the series, before it went really downhill, I think the biggest thing was that was the whole point of the show, is to keep things ambiguous, to keep you on your toes, to make you feel like there is more out there, or is it not? Like, that's kind of the whole point. Sorry, had to get some tea. But yeah, I will admit that there were points where it was like I just talked about it talking about the movie was the biggest problem with the movie. The biggest problem with the movie was that there was it was supposed to give us all answers. Like it was supposed to give us, a reason to keep going. Why were we doing this? And then nothing. We were left with more questions than answers. And I feel like if you are going to talk about giving answers, you can have ambiguity with your with your sci-fi show, but at the same time, you can't just play carrot on a stick the whole show, or your viewers are going to get pissed off. Ask anyone who watched Lost, right? Like, ask anyone who watched Lost, and they'll tell you. Or Heroes. Like, you have to give payoff at some point for your show, or it's not gonna matter. All you're doing is just leaving breadcrumbs and leading to not a gingerbread house, but a back alley with a crack addict who's got a knife ready to shank you, or off a cliff. I don't know where I was going with that analogy. Forgive me, but yeah, that's just how I think that was the there is a fine line, and sometimes I feel like they just kind of crossed it. Second question: if Mulder and Scully were suddenly transported to the Star Trek universe, how would they react to seeing humans and aliens living together? I think at first Mulder would be kind of in shell shock. I think honestly he would be in a state of shell shock. But if I'm being honest, I think he would appreciate the idea of alien life that took my sister. They are this is a world where we can live in harmony. There is hope for not just for humanity, but space itself. That we can be better. Because Mulder was as optimistic as he was also kind of, and also I think Scully would appreciate it, because they're both, Mulder and Scully were jaded cynics in one way or another. But yeah, so that was kind of the thing. That was kind of the big deal. Was I think that would be the big thing, is that they would appreciate just the unity that the Star Trek universe has. Third question: if you could fix any major problem that was badly written, what would it be, and how would you fix it? Like I said, payoff. I think payoff is kind of giving actual payoff is kind of the big deal here. That's kind of what that's kind of what we have. Has always been the big problem. Is sometimes payoff with the show. So that'd be one thing. Also, not kill off Mulder and actually pay David Duchovny what he fucking wanted. Be good. Anyway, thank you for those questions, Nolan. Moving on now to Bill, who asks, who is your favorite guest star in X-Files? I know a lot of people are going to say there's a lot of great actors, don't get me wrong. But the one that always stuck out to me was the actor who played Howard, Detective Munch, because I always thought that was funny, because, for those who don't know, that actor, who is sadly no longer with us, that actor actually owned the rights to Detective Munch. So when he showed up from Homicide over to Law & Order SVU, that was the same character. And he showed up in X-Files as that character. So it was a cool little crossover. So I always thought that was kind of cool, of basically saying that the Law & Order universe and X-Files exist in the same universe. Yeah, I don't know. That one always stuck with me. I know there's a lot of great ones. I know Clint Howard had one. And there's always a lot of great guest stars that you could mention. But I don't know. I was like, that was neat. I'm not even a Law & Order fan. I was just like, oh, that's cool. So that was one that always stuck out to me. Second question: would Mulder make a good Men in Black agent? I think he would. I think he would also be very I think also there'd be a part of him that would just be giddy at the idea of talking to aliens. But I think also he would have a lot of stoicism too, if that makes any sense. I don't know. Bottom line, I think he would be really good. I think he would honestly be good at it. Third question: what do you think of the Monster of the Week format for X-Files? I like it. That was kind of the initial idea for X-Files anyway, was Monster of the Week. And I think you can ask any X-Files fan, is that's where they really excelled, was kind of these one-and-done kind of stories where they would just kind of focus on one monster and then move on to something else. Yeah. So I think it excelled the most, but I always like an overarching story to, help the thing along. As long as you give, what's the word, ladies and gentlemen? Payoff. So there you go. Anyway, So thank you for those questions. Bill, moving on now to Brittany Digger, who asks, what did you think of the character John Doggett? I actually kind of like him. I actually really do enjoy his character. I think he's a lot of fun. I think he was kind of a cool idea because you didn't know at the start where his loyalty lied. You thought he was going to be a new villain. And also, Robert Patrick, what more can I say? Great actor as always. But Doggett turned out to be like a solid character to follow. And he was also like, I care about, I care about the job first, but also like I'm not the asshole you think I am. So Doggett was always kind of cool. Second question. Have you seen the spin-offs Millennium and the Lone Gunman? I have seen Lone Gunman, never watched Millennium. In fact, I thought Millennium was kind of its own show. I did when I first heard about Millennium, I thought it was its own show, and then it turned out to be, oh no, it's a spin-off of X-Files. Really? So, Lone Gunman, yes. Millennium, no. Third question. Was the episode Home too graphic for X-Files? Well, this is coming from a guy who enjoys Carnage Candy. This is a guy who really enjoys like his share of gore and things like that. But if I'm being honest, Home is an intense episode, and I'm shocked. Like, it was an episode that got banned because of how graphic it was. But at the same time, I think it's a great episode. It's probably the scariest episode of, if not the goriest episode of X-Files. But yeah, I really enjoy it. Do I think it crosses lines for TV? Yeah, but sometimes, when making art, sometimes you just got to break some glass, if that makes any sense. Thank you for those questions, Brittany. Moving on now to Alistair Bondman, who asks, X-Files has its fair share of goofy monsters or episodes in general. Which one of these either goofy monsters or episodes is your fave? Well, like I said, I think I have a special place for the Loch Ness Monster episode, and yeah, kind of that one. I also... There's another one I forgot. It was like involving snakes, like a snake cult or something. I can't remember. That one sticks out to me too. Second question. Have you had any familiarity with SCPs or SCP Foundation? And what do you think Mulder and Scully would make of the SCP Foundation or any particular SCP? Yeah, I have a vague understanding of SCP, but I would dare say that the whole SCP Foundation and X-Files, it really does work. Like, it really does, it really fits in the X-Files universe. Now, as to what SCP would fit, there's a few, but I can't really name them all. You can look them up for yourself. But I do think the SCP Foundation would definitely be on Mulder and Scully's radar, or they would be on the SCP Foundation's radar if they exist in the same universe. Third question. If the Ghostbusters and Mulder and Scully existed in the same universe, what do you think they would make of each other? Well, I think Mulder would be really cool at the idea of, like, holy crap, ghosts are real and I want to use this tech, and maybe, have you guys ever encountered extraterrestrials? Scully, of course, would be more along the lines of, this is fake, this is light shows, Mulder, like, what are we doing here? It would be a great... Also, I'd love to see Venkman and Scully have a back and forth. I also think Ray and Mulder would be BFFs. Like, straight up, Mulder and Ray would just be friends. But Venkman... No, Egon especially. Egon and Scully would just hate each other. Egon and Scully would just hate each other. But yeah, so there you go, guys. That is basically that is basically the X-Files Q&A. I was kind of worried I wouldn't get enough questions for this, but thankfully I did. So I want to thank everyone who sent in questions for this one. And if you want to be part of the next Q&A for spooky season, and when it gets announced, just hit the link in the description box below, hit the first tier. That'll allow you access to do so. But yeah, once again, I want to thank everyone who sent in questions for this. And yeah, other than that, hope you all enjoyed this. I'm Mr. Multiverse. I'll see you next time in the multiverse.